So, welcome again to another episode of The Profitable Farmer. And just to remind you guys, please like and subscribe this video. It's free. It takes just a couple of minutes, but we're going to be giving a lot of very useful, very important information to you. It's going to help your farming operation become more profitable than you ever thought possible. We're also going to be talking about various industry trends and things to look out for. And of course, we're going to be talking about the future of farming, which is going to be crucial for you to understand. The world of agriculture is changing, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, whether you want to jump on board right away or wait or whatever your reaction to change is. I want to let you know that the world of agriculture is changing. And those of you guys who take advantage of that and see that change are going to be in a position to dramatically improve your operation and take advantage of these opportunities and make a ton more money. Those of you guys who wait a little bit longer are going to lose out on a lot of that early profitability that you would have been able to have. And those of you guys who wait too long, you could be out of business, quite frankly. I mean, the nature of the world today is if you're on board, if you're keeping track of things, if you're evolving with the times, if you're taking advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, you're going to be in a really good position. If you don't, then you're eventually going to be left behind. And that's just unfortunately the way the world is set up these days. So I don't want that to happen to anybody watching this. I want you guys to take advantage of these opportunities, especially with the crop booster technology that we're talking about here. But before I get into that, in today's episode, I really wanted to cover a very important topic because this is something that a lot of people ask us who are either considering to get into farming or they've been in farming for a while, or maybe they're looking at possibly changing their crops. And a question that I get quite often is, what is the most profitable crop? If I could, and this is something our representatives like to talk about and like to ask me, which is, what is the most profitable crop to go after? What are the crops where the farmers can make the most money with Kyminasi Plant Booster? Now, of course, the simple answer to that is that really depends on the crop itself. How do you measure production and how much do you get? Obviously, the higher value crops like hemp, like flowers, like other types of things are going to be very, very lucrative because the extra production is just going to translate into a lot more money for the farmer. And I want to show you guys one of the most profitable businesses you can be in. And I want to actually show this, and I want to also reach out to a lot of the growers who are in the flower growing regions of the world. You know, like in South America, you have Ecuador, you have Colombia, you have Central America, and these regions where flowers are grown, even in the islands of Puerto Rico and those areas where they're growing flowers. In Africa, we have areas like Kenya and like Ethiopia and like Northern Africa, Morocco, and these various regions where they're growing flowers for the floral industry, right? And even into the Middle East. So I want to show you how much money you guys can actually make with this because unfortunately, I've only had the opportunity to visit with and show this information to a very few farmers, but I know there's a lot of farmers out there. And we're going to be running some data evaluation programs, some very special detailed trials with flower growers in some of these regions to prove to the entire industry that the floral industry is one of these things where you guys can make not just a little bit of extra money or a lot of money, but I want to show you exactly how much money you guys can make with this. And Joe, I see that. Why does this happen? So thank you for the comments, Joe. I'm going to show you why these crops are so lucrative. And if you have actual numbers, you can, of course, chime in. I will mention, though, Joe, that we do not service marijuana growers, that we do not service any drug crop growers. It's just part of our company ethos. If it's a hemp grower or a non-THC variety, of course, we can work with those guys. But for the drug crops, we do not work with those growers. So if you happen to be one of those guys, I understand, but that's just our company policy. So sorry for that. But the rest of you guys, if you're in one of these regions I'm going to show you today, please bear in mind that there is a ton of money. So let me show you guys this one. This is a cost-benefit analysis. And, of course, this is sorry. I need to delete that. Sorry about that. But I wanted to show you, this is a Kenyan farmer, and they're growing roses, okay? Now, interesting thing about this particular case study, okay? This grower manages about 25 hectares, so it's not a very large farm, even by rose standards, They're They're growing these outdoors, but under tents or under cover, which minimizes the amount of extra exposure to heat and sunlight, etc. But they grow 25 hectares of roses. Now, this particular grower is growing 1,460,000 stems per hectare per year. Now, a stem is obviously just a single rose. Now, if you're selling roses in the floral industry, of course, if you're selling roses in the floral industry, of course, you're selling them by the row. So they box up a number of rows and then they export it. So this particular farm is already exporting 1.4 million roses per hectare, and they got 25 hectares. So do the math. 1.4 million times 25. In fact, I'll pull up my calculator here just to show you so you don't have to do that calculation in your head. But let's just take a look here. 1.46 million times 25 hectares. So because they have 25 hectares. So he's doing currently 36.5 million roses per year on this small 25 hectare farm. That's a lot of roses, by the way. And think about that. We kind of think when we go to the florist or we go to buy our loved ones some roses or some flowers, we don't kind of think of how much roses are actually being produced worldwide. But this one farm, this one tiny farm, is producing 36.5 million roses per year just on this 25 hectare farm. Now, this particular grower is making 32 cents per rose. Now, again, if you go to the florist, you're probably paying, maybe $2, $5, $10 per rose, but they're selling it at wholesale at 32 cents per rose. So if you want to go into business, I suggest going into the rose business anyway, just because obviously if you can grow it for 12 cents, sell it on the wholesale market for 32 cents, and then you can sell it in retail for $2, $3, or $5. Making some really this calculation is if we increased his production on that 6.5 million stems per year by just 5%. So we're not even talking about a very large increase here. If we just increase his production by 5%, that means he's going to generate an extra 73,000 stems per hectare, right? Not for his whole farm, but just per hectare, we're going to give 73,000 more roses per year. And at 32 cents per rose, he's going to make $23,360 per hectare, right? That's per hectare. That's not for his whole farm. That's just per hectare, right? Now, the cost of my system here, I'm charging him for roses, and this is $1,500 per hectare that we're charging this particular grower. But he's making $750. So this is, I'm sorry, the cost of our system is $1,500 per hectare. So $750 per hectare per year. That's his annual cost. And so just do the math, subtracting 23,360 minus 750, he's making a profit per hectare, by the way, of $22,000 just with a 5% increase. This isn't even a huge increase, by the way. Most farmers that use our crop booster are talking about increases of 20%, 30%, 50%, very, very much larger numbers than just a 5% increase. But if we only got him a 5% increase and he paid full price, then he's going to pay for our system in the first year and make $22,000 per hectare on his small 25 hectare farm. Now, let's look at the total production. So he's got 25 hectares. So if you multiply $22,610 in profit per hectare times 25 hectares, he's making $565,000 in profit on his farm in the first year alone. Of course, when you double that, now we're looking at $1.1 million. So just imagine here, paying 25 times 1,500 here. I'm going to do another calculation. So for people that tell me that my system is expensive at $1,500 a hectare, I want you to understand here. So he's going to pay me $37,500 to cover his entire farm, his whole 25 hectares, right? And that may sound like a lot of money to some people, and I understand. But here's the question. Here's the magic question. Would you invest $37,000? What is that? $37,500 for your farm. if you knew that you can get $1.13 million in return. I don't have the ROI here on this particular graph because this was done a while ago, but think about that. Well, let's just do that calculation real quick, right? So 37,500. So let's just take what is that? $1.1 million here. Whoops. 1.1305 million. There we go. 1.35 million. Now we're going to divide that by the cost, 37.5 for this particular farm. He's going to make 30 times his money back. He's going to make his investment back, and then he's going to make 29 times that much in profit. Do you know of any particular input? This is for all farmers out there, by the way. Do you know of any input, any fertilizer, any pesticide, any seed, any soil amendment, any amount of water conditioning device, anything that's going to generate a 30x return on your investment? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see anything out there that's going to give you anything near 30%. And just so you guys know too, we're talking about a 5% increase on this farm. So again, my reps have been asking me, what is the most profitable crop to go after? What is the most profitable crop that the crop booster can help benefit? And it's flowers by everything, even better than hemp. I used to think hemp was big, and hemp is big. I've seen numbers like 30 to 40x in terms of hemp production. But now let's look at what a flower grower can really expect, because I just was cutting this super conservative for this particular grower at 5%. But let's say if we got a 20% increase in yield, and that is more inconsistent with the results that we usually see. So at a 20% increase in yield, again, he's still going to pay that same price. He's still going to pay that same $37,500 for this 25 hectares, right? But he's going to now he's going to pay for that system, and now he's going to make $92,000 per hectare, or $4.6 million. So just do the math on this. And I know a lot of people don't like math, but I love math. I love math when it looks like this. If you don't like math and you're looking at profit numbers like this, then I think you'll start to like math a lot more. So again, just divide this by the total cost of the system here that I mentioned, $37,500 for this particular farm, and you have a return on investment of 123.5 times the investment. There is no other technology like this on the planet. When I talk about the crop boosters being the future farming, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. And there are farmers making this money, by the way. This is not some pie in the sky, some fantasy land type number. There are farmers right now making these kinds of numbers already on various crops that we've seen. And I've shown you these on various presentations. So it's not like this is a single one. So, but that's one farm. You're probably thinking to yourself, okay, so that's one farm. So let's take a look at another one. So let me pull this up here. I'm actually going to stop sharing. So I'll just do this. Okay, so this was another grower here. And okay, good. This is another grower in Kenya. This grower has 70 hectares, okay, instead of 50. Price here was a little bit lower that I quoted him, was $1,250 a hectare, but about the same price. And here we have 70 hectares. So again, this says pounds per acre, but we're talking flowers. So this is not pounds, it's actually stems per acre. Okay. And he goes by acres, not hectares. So we're talking hectares here, but I'm just going to change these to what they are because they're not selling them by the pound here. There you go. So these are actually the stems per price. Now he actually is growing flowers. He grows different types of flowers, not necessarily roses, but we're talking about things like carnations and tulips and other types of flowers. So we're not talking about roses. So his average price per stem that he's selling this for is 8 cents, not 20 cents or 32. I think it was 32 cents on the other one. So he's making a quarter as much as the other grower with roses, but he's growing, again, 1.08 million stems. So 1,080,000 stems per year. And again, looking at a 20% increase in yield, which is a pretty conservative average for what we're doing. That's 216,000 stems at 8 cents per stem. That's $17,000. Again, the cost of our system at 625. Heck, even if I increase this to 1,500 and went to the full price of 750 for flowers, He's still paying for my system and making $16,000 per acre, which times 70 acres this time is 1.1 million, and that's 2.3 million. So let's take, and that's actually hectares actually, so total hectares. So let's take this again. We'll just do some simple math. Again, some people don't like math. When I see numbers like this, I love math, right? So take the 70 acres here and multiply that times 1,500. And let's take a look at the whole price. So he's looking at 105,000 here, right? So $105,000 is going to be the total cost for his 70 hectares there. However, let's take this 2.314,200,000, and let's now divide by 105,000. So not quite as good as the previous example, but that's still 22 times return on investment. So again, I look at it like this. Like if you had the opportunity where somebody came up to you and said, for every dollar you give me, I'm going to give you a $20 bill. Okay. Now you could look at this and say, well, God, this is really expensive. I have to give you $1. Or you can look at this like, wow, every dollar I give him, he's going to give me $20 back. So it's not always about the cost of the system. I understand that some inputs, you want to reduce your input cost. You want to reduce your fertilizer and your water and other input costs down to as low as possible. But when you look at numbers like this and crops like this, you really have to look more on the sale end. How can I increase productivity to the point where I can keep my inputs the same? Again, we're not even looking at fertilizer savings here, or sometimes even reducing fertilizer and other costs. But if I can get a 20, 30, 40 input increase in productivity with a crop like flowers here, you can make a ton more money. So I realize you guys probably can't see this because I think I stopped sharing my screen here. But let me go back to sharing my screen so you guys can see this. So sorry about that. I realized that I wasn't sharing my screen in the second example. But again, this particular grower in Kenya has 70 hectares. He's growing 1,080,000 stems per year. He gets 8 cents per stem, and we're looking at a 20% potential increase, which is what our crop booster does. That's an extra 216,000 stems, which at 8 cents a piece is 17,280. He's paying $750 per hectare per year for my system, and that nets him $16,530 per hectare. Or over the whole 70 hectares, you're looking at 1.15 million over the course of 2 years, which is the length of my system, $2.3 million. And again, on an investment of 105,000, he's banking 2.3 million, which is 22 times his investment return. So he pays for my system and he nets a 22x return on investment. Guys, I just want to let you know that this type of thing is not uncommon. When we look at specialty crops like grapes, or flowers or hemp crops or other of these high value crops, we're looking at numbers that look just like this, anywhere between 20 and 50 or even 100 times return on investment. And there's no input on the planet. There's no piece of equipment on the planet. There's no type of seed on the planet that I know of that can consistently deliver that type of result. And it does that because the entire effect of our crop booster system makes plants more efficient. When plants are more efficient, you can get a maximum amount of yield with a minimum amount of input cost. And that's going to put more money in your pocket, a lot more money than the cost of my system, I guarantee you. So just to let you guys know, I got some questions here by Joe Hartman. Thank you so much. Yeah, we can deal with blueberries. If you go on our website, by the way, if you're watching this, check out our website and take a look because we have results on blueberries and strawberries and grapes and flowers and a lot of these high value crops and even hemp for CBD oil and that kind of thing. We have a lot of these high value crops that we're already working with, that we're already making these farmers a ton more money. And we want to help you make this kind of money too. Again, this is one of those situations where everybody's going to be using this crop booster technology in 5 to 10 years. And it's just a matter of, do you want to be one of the first people to use it now and start making numbers like this and increases in yield and profit like this while the rest of the industry has not caught on to this yet? Or do you want to wait till the entire industry catches on to this and the cost of scale goes down because everybody's producing more, and that's going to reduce the overall cost that people are able to get for their yield. And by then, again, if you wait too long, it might be too late. You might be out of business. I don't want that to happen to you. So please give us a call at 727-324-6750. Send us an email to service@harvestharmonics.com, and let's work together so that you can become more profitable in the next year and for every year thereafter. Have a great day, guys.